Hello the internet! It is Thursday the 9th of November 2023 and welcome back to the channel. I've got a little hack here for anybody who's been trying to digitize their old school mini DV cassettes and having issues because, say, Final Cut Pro, I'm on a Mac, Final Cut Pro automatically creates a new video file every time you've pressed pause on your old camcorder. All I wanted to do was dump the whole tape as one long file, and I found a little hack with a program that does just that. This is assuming a few things though. This is assuming, number one, you've got yourself a digital video playback machine, either an old school Handycam such as the TRV 900, or if you're like me and you're very fortunate, you've got one of these guys, the JVC. This is a Super VHS and a mini DV output over Firewire. This thing's a beast, love it. Not everybody will have one of those, but I'm fortunate enough to have one. Plug the sucker in, fire it up. And it's also assuming if you have those two or one of those things, you also have the cable you need to get that into your laptop. In my case, a MacBook Pro from 2022. Of course, the cable run, I'll just run you through it. Old school Firewire from the camcorder. That's the cable that you've had for years. At the end of that, that's called Firewire 400. I plug that into a extender to make Firewire 800. From the Firewire 800, that goes into another cable which converts it to Thunderbolt 2. From Thunderbolt 2, because the laptop's a USB-C, you've got to go from there to USB-C. I'm busy. Hold on a sec. I apologize for that. So that's assuming you've got all those things. If you do have them, the next thing you need, I'll plug this in here. I'll show you what that looks like, just in case anybody wants to get a JVC deck, which no longer exists. That just goes straight in there, and then I'm going to run this cable around the back of my laptop and straight into the only USB-C port I got left. Bam. Click it in. This is turned on. Okay, so it's going to go to the DV side. I'll put an old school tape in. This is from 2000 and 2000. Can't open this one-handed. This will go in here. It'll automatically start playback, so I'll just stop the playback. Yeah, so it's starting to playback. We'll press stop. So there's your time code. So what you need to do now is go to a website called LifeFlix. LifeFlix is the website. It is Mac software for importing video old and new. Now all you need to do is grab the free version. You don't need, and by the way, LifeFlix, I hope you don't get upset with this, but this is just a little hack. So I discovered it. Go to the free version, click on it, download it. You've got to download it and go into the trial mode. Once you've done that, I'll bring up what it looks like. I've got version 4. It'll automatically, let's just make this clearer so we can all see it. It'll automatically ask you to buy it. You don't need to, just click no thanks. Now if you have a mini DV device connected to your computer, you can hit this button here, import. A few seconds will go by and then it will find, this window will pop up and it will find your video camera source. You can also import from a file system or a download from a URL, but all we're doing is from the video camera. Now, as you can see here, mine's the JVC SR-VS30. I found you don't even need to give it a title. Definitely uncheck this selection, compress video to save space. You don't want to do that. You want to get the highest quality possible. And obviously you don't want to create a new scene for each segment because that's what the other software is doing without you being able to stop it. So you uncheck that. Then what you need to do is press playback on your machine. I'll use the remote in this case. Playback on the machine. Once it starts playing, you'll see it come up in this preview window. So I've got some footage here from New Zealand by the look of it. So then you just click this button. I also like to turn the volume up. It's a bit tricky to... So there's the volume. See this 0 KB? You've got to keep on hover, which is a bit lousy, but press the record button. It's now recording, and if you keep your mouse just hovered there, you'll see each scene. Actually, that is a bit loud, isn't it? Let me just drop the volume in case it gets too loud. So every time the camera changes scene, this is when it would create a new file. But this software is not doing that. It's just dumping this into a folder inside a media folder on your hard drive. And as you can see, I'm going to let this roll for a little while, but as you can see, it's going up in the megabytes, 137, 138, 140. This is just an illustration. I'll let it roll for a bit, and then I'll show you whereabouts inside of this package, this software it packages that up to. So then you can just nab that file out. This looks like Coronet Peak from 2000. Old school. Queenstown Gardens. Oh, what a lovely bee. All right, so what we'll do is we'll stop that there. So it'll ask you to, and I'll just stop tape playback as well so we don't get confused. Tape playback is stopped. It'll ask you to keep the scenes. You don't need to, I've found that this doesn't make a difference, but just click keep. It doesn't really make a difference. It puts it into their playback system, but you don't need to. You don't even need this anymore. You can just quit this program. You can just quit that program, because what it does, if you go to your Finder, it'll put it in a media folder here. It'll be stored in Macintosh hard drive, users, Banon, movies, LifeFlix V4 media. So I've already bookmarked that out on my sidebar. It'll dump it in here with a whole bunch of numbers. If you do the drop down, there is the file that it created, and you can see that it's all one file as playback. It's obviously compressed it to the mini DV codec, whatever that is by default. You can't change that. I mean, you can if you choose compressed to save space, but why would you? So what I've done, and I've done this before I've made this video because I feel like maybe LifeFlix might change their software when they see that this is how people might be using it. I've gone ahead and digitized I've got 35 mini DV tapes. I've digitized all of them, put them onto a RAID system. Now I've got a tape. It's like 13 gig per 60-minute standard play mini DV cassette. I've got all of these tapes are now digitized into one file per tape. It's rad. If you're interested, we'll just pause that for a second. So that's your file. Then you can obviously just take that out and do with it what you will. You can rename it. This tape was called 8. I'd just rename that 8 so I know what it is. And you can then delete that media folder, and it recreates it each time. I'll show you. If you go back to LifeFlix, it just opens it up and it has this untitled tape. You don't need to call it anything. You got scenes in there. I delete that. I just delete it, and then I come back in, import again, go to another tape. Always make sure you uncompress. Take that compress off. Definitely do that. Then you press playback on your machine again. Fire it up. Once it comes up in here, I just turn the volume up so I know it's working. Press record. Bamski bam. And there's that bee. It's doing its thing. It's a little bit clunky. Like if you're watching, like I'd sit down and watch a movie while this happens, and you got to keep your eye on, things, because if you take on hover off, you can't see that it's actually recording. You want to make certain. The only times I've found when this makes a new scene, and this is a problem with my technique back in the day, is if you've used a separate audio track. Remember on the old DV camcorders with Sony, you could choose to add a separate audio track into the mix. I found if I ever did that to do a stereo mix while on the fly, it would create a new scene. So if the audio source resets or restarts, if you like, it does create a new scene. Also, if your tape is completely rooted because it's an old mini DV tape and you get a lot of that digital artifacting. There's times when it will stop entirely. So I found that you've got to just keep your little mouse, hover on that, chill out there, relax, watch a movie or whatever, and just keep an eye on it and make sure everything's rolling, unless you want to sit there in real time and watch the whole tape. So yeah, I'll show you what that looks like now that it's creating a new file. We'll just stop the record here. That's Queenstown Bay, by the way. Remarkables. Anybody from New Zealand? Oh, there's the SS Ernslaw. Still firing up, that beast. This is 20 odd years ago. So we'll stop that there. We'll just hit keep. I'll stop the tape playback. Just to show you one more time what this looks like, go back to that media folder. I've got it bookmarked out here on the sidebar. It's Macintosh hard drive, users, Benon, movies, LifeFlix V4 media, and there it is. It's recreated a new folder. Drop it down and there is another file in there in its entirety. There it is. No problems. Very cool. And that's just a little hack there. You don't need to buy LifeFlix, just download the trial. What is it, the November 9? Maybe they'll change that throughout from here on in. By the way, LifeFlix, don't change it, because of all the things that people want to do with mini DV. They just want to digitize it. Well, it's already digital. They want to preserve it, and the best way to preserve it is as it is here, all in one. Then you can back it up and do what you want. By the way, on a side note, if anybody's in Australia, I am going to be selling this guy because I have digitized all my collection. I've digitized all my collection and all my mates' collections. All that's done. All this is done. And I've also done high A stuff on a different camcorder. But this is a beast because it does pump out from the VHS side through the mini DV cable. So whatever you play back in here goes down this pipe. So you can digitize all your old VHS cassettes as well, which I've done as well. So I'm going to be selling this. I am going to be selling it for $3,000. You might say, that's outrageous, dude. That's what you would have bought it for back in the early 2000s. Yep. They don't make them anymore. This has been reserviced by JVC Pro in Sydney, in Sydenham. It's perfect. There's a little bit of a scratch on top. There's a scratch up there, but the whole thing's perfect aside from that. Remote works, and it's brand new heads. Everything's brand new. So I'm selling that for $3,000. Those that know what it is will know what it is, and they'll know that it's worth that. And if you don't want it, no offers. It's going to be $3,000. I'm done with it. You might enjoy it, then you can on-sell it as well. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. Tap that, what are the buttons again? Share it out. Just do the YouTube stuff. I'm gonna get out of here.